Okay, so now it's day 9 of my 100-day challenge. And last time I left you off, I was in Panama City, housebound from agoraphobia with my current boyfriend Keith, who I'm still with today, and running out of time and having to face reality. So, somewhere around December of 2005, I wrote my parents a letter and I told them basically how I really was. I mean, I told them about how I can't leave and how it's a struggle even to go to the mailbox, which our mailbox was down. You had to go down a staircase outside and out to the road. It was one of those, mailboxes by the street. And they had given me $4,000 to buy a new car because my old one, was dying. And I had to tell them I spent all that money because they thought I was working, but I really wasn't. And that was very hard. And I overnighted that letter to them. And at that time also, I had some teeth that were breaking in the back of my mouth, and I felt very self-conscious, and I'm terrified of dentists, just absolutely terrified. And I'm terrified of blood. I have a blood phobia from something I did not get into with you, but I will, I'm sure, in the future. And I became very depressed, like clinically depressed. For weeks, I cried, and I don't know why I was crying. It's just the pain was so bad, I just kept crying. And at one point, I called the suicide hotline, not because I was going to kill myself, but I wanted to speak to someone. My boyfriend was sleeping, and frankly, I'm sure he was very stressed out from all the things I was putting him through. And when the person answered, she asked what my name was, and I couldn't get it out. The tears were so strong, I couldn't say my own name. And from there, we talked, and, I felt better temporarily. I ended up not eating for about 8 days and hardly drinking any liquid, and eventually I was throwing up so much from anxiety that blood came up, and I got really scared. Blood phobia and blood coming up out of your stomach. I mean, not that it was a lot, but it was enough to scare me. And so I went to the emergency room in Panama City, and I had seen a therapist the week before, and I had a prescription for Paxil once again, but I hadn't started taking it. I wasn't sure I wanted to, especially from my previous experiences with it. Before that, she wanted to put me on Prozac, but I had never taken that drug, and I thought, if I have a side effect now and I'm away from my family, how will I deal with this? So I went with what was safe, which was the Paxil. I thought, well, it didn't kill me before, I can do this again, but I never took it. So I ended up in the emergency room. I had low potassium from all the vomiting, and I got an IV, and they did blood work. And while I was there, I thought, oh, God, I've been drinking so much. Maybe I should have them check my liver function, make sure my liver is okay after all these years of drinking heavy. And so they did. They agreed, and they took blood from me, which was awful anyway, but they were going to have to take blood anyway to see what was wrong. That's how they found out I had the low potassium. But my liver function and my pancreatic function and everything, it came back fine. I didn't even have elevated enzymes. It's like my body was fine. And I felt better, and I thought, wow, I really dodged a bullet, My body's okay. And they injected me with Pepcid to calm my stomach, and they wanted to give me some other anti-nausea medication through injection, but I was so scared of having a reaction. I said no, just like they wanted to give me Ativan through the IV, but I also turned that down because I had only had Valium and Xanax before, and I was so scared because of the Demerol that I had during my surgery that I was going to react to something. And my parents were so far away, and my mom doesn't fly on planes, and it just, in my mind at that point, it seemed as if I couldn't deal with anything else, not one single thing. So we got back to our apartment, and previously to all this happening, which I told Clarissa, Clarion 13, whatever her name is on the screen name. I'm sorry, Clarissa. She's on my subscription list. I had explained to her that we had talked a lot about moving to Jacksonville, but what I didn't tell her is that the year previous we wanted to move to New Orleans, and the very day that Hurricane Katrina had hit, we were supposed to be there looking at apartments. And in fact, we were going to go to New Orleans because at that point the map showed that it was going to hit Panama City. And I thought, well, we're going to have to evacuate anyway. Like we had evacuated for Hurricane Ivan and every other hurricane that was hitting that location. And luckily we didn't. And luckily we didn't move there because we would have lost everything in that storm. So that was a blessing. Instead, for Katrina, we could stay. But for Ivan, we went to Tallahassee. And for some other storm, I can't remember which one it was, but we did end up in Dothan, Alabama, which is about 45 minutes north of Panama City. But anyway, so back to the other story, I was just telling him, oh, we'll live in Jacksonville. And he's like, yeah, we'll do that. But I knew in my heart that I had to come back to New York. I just knew I had to. And when I finally told him that we weren't going to move to Jacksonville, Florida, he was upset because he wanted to leave Panama City. And I said, well, why don't we move to North Carolina? Because he's never seen snow, at least in real life. On TV he had. But I thought, well, we'll move there, and then I'll be closer to New York, and then you'll still be close to your family, and we'll make this work. But my depression got worse, and that's all before I even called the suicide hotline. It got bad. Very, very bad. I had scary thoughts. I was so scared that I would wake up at some point and find my wrist slit, that I would have no memory of doing this. I just became very scared. And anyone who's had depression, you know how those scary thoughts can be. I had no intention whatsoever of killing myself. Not at all. But I was scared that I would have some type of psychotic break and do it. And so I moved home. But to move home, I had to take Keith, my current boyfriend, 1,200 miles away from his family. We didn't have money to get a moving truck. I sold my car to his sister. We took his car up, back from Florida to New York. Everything we owned, we packed in boxes and mailed parcel post and media mail, if it was all videotapes, back to my parents' house. I had no money for that. My parents had to pay for that. And that's why, frankly, we shipped everything. It was cheaper than having a U-Haul, take everything. That was like $2,000. I think we spent like $880 mailing everything. But that's where I am today. And where I am today is still drinking. Still agoraphobic. I've seen a therapist now since October of 2006. I have no health insurance. I am still smoking cigarettes. These are all things I want to change. And there is so much more to my story than what I've told you. Of course, I had to sum it all up. Like I said in the previous video, this isn't the 1,000-day challenge, so I will, of course, inform you as I go along. But right now, what I want and what I want to manifest is to clean my apartment because it's a mess. And my disorganized thoughts have manifested themselves onto this floor. The clothes that are laying around and everything else that is just a mess. My cat that I have sleeps among the dirty laundry and everything else. I'm sure he loves it. It's like a maze to him, but that needs to change. And then I need to address every other addiction I have, and I need to address, what am I actually doing with myself? Why am I on this path of death? Because it needs to stop. This isn't who I am. It's certainly not who I want to be. I want freedom from myself. I want to take that key and unlock the bondage and slavery that I have kept myself in since the mid-90s. And I believe I can do that. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.